A few weeks back, I did an unboxing of the BOOX Go Colour 7 Generation 2, and I did a little first impression, a review, and now that I've had it for a couple of weeks, I wanted to do a reading vlog solely focused on the BOOX Go Colour 7. Sorry my Kindle, I will miss you. For those of you guys who are wondering, no, I'm not giving my Kindle away. I love both devices. What's really frustrating to me is when I was considering getting the BOOX Go Colour 7, whenever I did research on it, a lot of tech videos would come up rather than videos talking about what it is like to actually read on it. So this is why I wanted to make a reading vlog, and hopefully this helps other people. But this is my lovely BOOX Go Colour 7. I've had it for a couple of weeks and I haven't really read a lot on it, but I have read some manuals on it, which is why this video is a further experimentation. But before we get into the reading vlog, I wanted to talk more about my thoughts on the actual device and my first impressions and how that may have changed since then. My first impression of the device when I took it out of the box was that it was very fragile because it felt very light and thin to the point where if I sat on it, I felt like I could break it. However, now that I have my case on, it definitely feels a lot more sturdy and I feel more safe taking this around with me. In terms of the case, I would recommend getting a magnetic folio case because I've heard people who have clear cases like my Kindle, the screen has popped off before. I was considering getting a clear case because I was like, I want to make my books look pretty and everything, but this is an expensive device, so I'd rather, you know, have a case that protects it. Crazy thing is, I found this case on AliExpress and I also looked at cases on Amazon. This case on Amazon is $60 and on AliExpress it's $27. It's absolutely crazy, the price difference, but this is basically just a magnetic folio case. It's pretty nice, it's a pretty pink color, and so far I really love it. To explain the books and the device itself for those of you who want to know more about it, it is an e-reader that runs on an Android interface, so you can read on a bunch of different apps, which is why I wanted to get it. It also is in color, which is great. It has buttons, which is definitely really nice and is so satisfying to use, and you are able to change the orientation. For example, you can read it right-handed, left-handed, you can read it horizontally as well, which the freedom that gives is so nice. A few things that I do want to point out is that the battery doesn't last, especially if you're reading on the web browser. However, so far reading on my Kindle, it's not that bad. It's lasted, I think, 3 days at this point while reading on my Kindle, whereas if I read on the web browser, the battery would be gone in 3 to 4 hours. So this is what my books look like. As of right now, we have this cute little Moth Sun screensaver, which this is really cool because basically I have the option to change the screensaver because on the device you have this screensaver app, and I basically just downloaded a bunch of pictures from Pinterest and then I put them on the screensaver, and you can do this thing where every single time you close the device it will show up with a new picture, and this is so satisfying to me because I get bored when it comes to wallpaper, so I like when it's random. The books also has their own e-reader app, but I haven't really read that much on it because all my books are kind of on my Kindle. What it feels like to read on the Kindle app, honestly, I would probably choose to read on my actual Kindle when it comes to EPUBs. It's definitely a lot clearer on the Kindle device itself compared to the books because it does feel a little bit grainy and you do have to change the settings. Something that you have to do in the app is that you have to set it to regal mode if you want to see the book covers in color and you want it to be extremely clear, because if you change it to another mode, which is speed mode for example, it can get really pixelated. And originally I was not really a fan of regal mode because every single time you would turn the page it would have a really slow refresh rate, but because I was also kind of lazy to change the settings every single time I wanted to look at my book cover, I decided to just leave it at regal setting, and honestly it's not that bad. Even though it does have a slow refresh rate, I am kinda used to it at this point. I'm currently reading this book which is called The Floating World by 𝐦𝐮𝐬𝐢, which is this fantasy book. If I am being honest, the one word I will use to describe this book is boring, because I am so bored of this book. I don't even know how I'm getting through it. And I think part of it is the fun of reading on the books, because I just find using the buttons so entertaining, and I think because of that I kind of just want to read the book because I want to click on the buttons. But the story itself just feels very unoriginal because it has the whole trope of the male lead being this demon and the MC being this lost heiress, and then we have two separate worlds, and it just feels like I've read a book like that before. The characters, the plot, and the romance just feels so shallow and bland because we have this whole urgent quest that is going on, but I swear nothing is really going on, and the characters meet and instantly there is this weird kind of romance thing going on where they're pulled together for some weird reason, but because the characters are so bland, there isn't a lot of chemistry between them, because I feel like the characters aren't developed well enough for the romance to really work out, because we keep getting flashbacks of the past, which is obviously very important to the building of the characters, but it just feels very repetitive. So I don't know why I find this book so boring, but not to the point where I feel like I want to DNF it, and I want to try my best to finish it. I'm exactly halfway through it, so we're gonna read it, and when I do finish this book, or if, it will be the first ebook that I will have read on the books. I finished my first book on my books. In terms of my experience reading on my books compared to my Kindle, I like the Kindle device itself. For some weird reason, I just don't like the Kindle app, because the Kindle app in a way bothers me. I like the way that the Kindle device is set up, and I think I'm more used to it, so whenever I go onto the app I'm like, ugh. I did have an issue with the brightness. I kind of fixed the setting already because while I was reading it was a bit too warm for me, so I have made it a little bit colder in terms of the brightness. Another reason why I didn't really like reading on my books is because it is very grainy, which is expected since it is a color e-reader. I think that if I didn't own a Kindle previously, I probably wouldn't have really known the difference. Next, I'm going to be reading a web novel, which I already started, and it's called A Guide to Capturing a Black Lotus. And I wanted to read this because I watched the drama, which is called Love Game Eastern Fantasy, and I really enjoyed that drama. It was one of my favorites that I watched. Did it come out this year or was it last year? I don't know, but I really enjoyed it. And obviously the book is the original material. I assume that they probably changed a lot of the stuff from the books, because in a drama there's only so much you can include. But I'm excited to read the romance and how it develops, because the way that this story is told is that our female lead 𝐸𝐸 transmigrates into this novel that she reads, and she has these missions that she needs to complete. The male lead is in love with his sister, but they're not siblings, okay? They're not actually siblings, they're adoptive siblings. But yeah, he likes his sister, and her mission is to, I guess, make him fall in love with her. You know, the way that I'm explaining the plot probably makes it sound really bad, but the drama was very entertaining. I'm very excited to read the book as well. So far, my experience with reading web novels on my books is that I'm enjoying it. I really again like the buttons for scrolling. It's very fun. I like it because my hands tend to cramp up a little bit, especially when I'm reading on my phone, for example, because the phone screen is so slippery. Sometimes it gets a little bit difficult to scroll down. Something that I like about the books as well is that you have the ability to zoom in and make the font bigger. Because when it comes to your phone, you can zoom in, but it doesn't show the whole page. You have to kind of move it, or if you read it on your iPad, I don't know, the iPad to me just seems a lot heavier, and it's too big for me to like use it more conveniently, if that makes sense. Whereas with the books, it just feels like the perfect balance. And something that I like about the books as well is that you can expand it, so it's the whole page is the web browser, and you can get rid of the search bar, which is so nice. It makes the reading experience a lot nicer. I am having a difficult time getting into the book, mainly because it is a Chinese novel that has been translated into English, which I really like reading books that are translated from another language because it's so interesting to see the different styles in writing. And honestly, sometimes I'm kind of sick of reading Western authors' writing because it's just very, in a way, repetitive. You know the formula that they're writing in, and when you read books written in different countries, they have their own tropes that are so new and so entertaining to read. But definitely it does make it difficult for me to kind of get into it because it is a different style of writing, and there is this thing, especially with Chinese books, where certain characters can have a lot of names and it gets very confusing. So I am only 13 chapters into it, and there are I think like 120 something or maybe even more chapters, so I do know it's gonna take some time. I don't know exactly if I'm liking the screen. It still feels a bit bright to me, but then when I turn the brightness down, it's like too low, so I feel like I don't know if I have a good in between. I try to comparing it to my phone. My phone is definitely brighter, but I don't know if it's the graininess of the screen that is somewhat distracting me and kind of making me not feel like, okay, it is a little bit annoying. So I just like wonder if I had the black and white version, what would it be like to read on it? But yeah, that's my thoughts on reading on the web browsers so far. I have a long way to go with this book, so my thoughts will probably change over time. At this point, I am 53 chapters into the book, and this book is getting so good. I fully got into it around chapter 21, and ever since then, I'm just really into the book. I will admit that there are some parts of the book that I'm not super interested in, which is basically everything that is not the romance. Basically everything that doesn't have Meow Meow and Mushen in it, because I love their scenes together. But over time, you can really tell that the relationship between them, especially the male lead and his feelings for Meow Meow, changes because she is her usual bubbly, somewhat naive self who loves talking and who kind of likes teasing Mushen, whereas originally Mushen just finds her annoying and he doesn't really want her there. However, during this chapter, his thoughts on her changes because now he doesn't view his sister as the most important person or the only person that he can count on. Now he also thinks about Meow Meow, and he is also really protective of her at this point. There was this whole scene where he basically is angry at this princess for doing something, and then he runs off in search for Meow Meow and he saves her, and Meow Meow is kind of like, I have been waiting for you, stuff like that. And oh my god, they're so cute together. So I'm up to chapter 53. I still have up to chapter 120 something to go, so I still have a lot to read, but I'm really loving it right now. I finally finished reading The Guide to Capturing a Black Lotus on my books, and I'm not going to get into the book that much, but I did really enjoy it, and I was truly only there for the romance because the type of romance that it was is one of my favorite tropes. But my experience reading a web novel on my books was honestly great. As I mentioned, I really like the buttons. It makes it so easy to read the book compared to me scrolling. And as I showed before, there are different features that make the reading experience a lot better. So it genuinely made me want to pick up the books and kind of just leave my phone to the side, because if I were to read on my phone, I would probably get distracted by other apps as well. So my reading experience on the books has been great, and I'm really excited to read more web novels in the future because there are some that I've been wanting to get through. And you know what, in a way I kind of regret not waiting until I got my books, because there were some books that I read online in the past where, I will be honest, because I read it online, I don't think I exactly remembered what happened in them, because when I read on my phone, for some weird reason, the information just does not compute, I think because of the eye strain that it gives me. Anyways, I'm really glad that I bought the books. I'm so happy with it. Originally, I was not really sure if I wanted to buy it at the moment because I wanted to save up more money for it, but I was getting a good deal, okay, because the original price was $439 and it was on sale on Amazon for $408, and then I used a $10 voucher, so then it became $398, and later I'm going overseas, I'm gonna get a tax refund, so it's gonna end up being $360 something, which that is such a great deal. And if I missed out on that, I would have been so upset. I'm really excited to use it more in the future, and I am genuinely glad that I decided to finally pick it up. It's interesting because there is a lot of negativity surrounding it when I was researching the books, but honestly, based on my opinion and my experience with it, I do think that it's a pretty good device and I haven't really had issues. Hopefully this video has helped you guys who are maybe interested in the books. But thank you guys for watching this video. Please like, subscribe and all that jazz, and I will see you guys in another one. Bye!